We're talking today with Geraldine Rooney, who is a development officer at Blanchardstown Centre for Independent Living. How are you today? And
I'm very good, and I'm also delighted to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So let's talk about disability, the peer support group. For someone listening who's never been to a peer support group before, what actually happens at a monthly meeting?
Okay. Our peer support group has been running coming up on 19 years now. And it's really good because it gives people with disability a voice. It also encourages people to mix in their community. So we host a session on the last Thursday of every month in the library. It's been there since, as I said, coming up on 19 years.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So, yeah, very good. It really is. And what happens is people come along on that last Thursday and they may have issues that they want to discuss. Like, for an example, it can be if there's a wheelchair user and the chair maybe is giving them problems. Yeah. Somebody else in the group would be a wheelchair user as well, and they would probably know someone who maybe could get it fixed quicker, because sometimes waiting lists in the HSE can be huge. So it's kind of local knowledge, you know, and that really works out well. But it's not just all about medical stuff. It's about literally the social side. So it's people coming together. They have a chat, they can talk about shows. Sometimes people go off to the cinema then, they might go for a cup of coffee. You know, they meet up on different days. It's increasing kind of your output into your community. Now, again, we kind of give pointers for starting off. So as we're back into February now, so January, the meeting was all about kind of our plan for the year. So again, it comes back to very simple things like access around the local area in Dublin 15. Even though it has improved over the year, and I have to say Fingal are very good, it sometimes needs to be improved, re-improved, for want of a word. You'll have estates like, I'll give you an example of an older estate, say Whitestown, Sheepmore, around that area, that's quite old, built in the late 70s. Paths can be crumbling. Yeah. Dishing mightn't be great, so it just needs to be redone. So we ask the members when they're out and about, take a photograph, and then you can bring the photograph into us or send it in to us. We'll contact the local councillors. Usually we have a good relationship with Parks and with Fingal with them fixing the roads, and usually they go along and fix them. So that's one example of the peer support. So now we also do advocacy, and it would be for a person to become a peer advocate or a self-advocate. We were involved with the Disability Federation of Ireland, where they put together this toolkit for if someone has a disability and they want to start speaking up for themselves, but they're not quite sure. You know, so I'll give you an example. There was a gentleman who lived outside of Dublin, we'll say it was actually in Kildare. And the disability parking spot was at the top of the hill, which was fine because it saved him, but he was a bit anxious about parking, and he was also self-transferring out of the car. A bit rocky when you're on a hill. So anyway, then he went and he became an advocate for himself. They moved it down to the bottom of the hill, and that seemed to be fine for a while. But then you had another lady who had a disability as well, who had been using that spot, and that spot was handy for her for the post office because it was at the top of the hill. Now she had to park at the bottom of the hill and walk up. So you see, he was a self-advocate. So he was minding himself, you know. So they literally came together through a group and then realised, oh God, you know, and he said, well, sure, we can move it up. So anyway, long story short, they moved the disability spot to another place, which was actually much better, and it suited both of them. So that's kind of like peer advocacy, where people come together to, you know, get things done, you know.
You often say that the group can be whatever people need it to be, from a coffee and a chat to advocacy and lobbying. Why is that flexibility so important?
Really, it's people coming together, and you see people bonding. Like sometimes we could be down in the library and we might have 10 people, you know, and it'll be a very close conversation, usually on one topic, and that's fine. But what we do is, when the group is bigger, we tend to break up into different sections. So sometimes you have people who are just there for the company. They're just there to meet other people, to expand their friendship, you know, literally around the area, to get to know other people. They mightn't have so much of an interest in maybe fixing the path or, you know, or being out there for disability rights. They just want to be there for themselves. So we allow that flexibility in the group, where you see people who have become very firm friends outside it, and they're meeting, as I explained to you about being advocates, and then literally, taking on causes in the area. But there are people then that just literally, they just like going for a coffee. They just like having a chat about like
nice,
Exactly, yeah.
Because not everyone goes out of their way to meet people.
Exactly. And sometimes you'll find that people with disabilities tend to be very caught up in their families. So you're aware that the person you're talking to who's made the effort to come down to your peer support group, or, their peer support group, as I call it, they're there, but they mightn't see anyone outside of their own family. So it's nice to see somebody. Everybody likes to talk to somebody
someone
different.
new. It's
exactly.
exciting. And
and then also you could have a shared interest with someone. You mightn't realise that someone you meet that you've seen at different meetings through BCIL and whatever, you could have a common interest. It could be bird watching, it could be going to the cinema, it could be anything. It's a chance for people to be themselves and to find friends.
Yeah, I totally get you. There's a powerful message from the group about hidden disabilities and not needing to be disabled enough to attend. Why do you think that reassurance matters so much?
We've always been very open around disability, because there are some people who would have hidden disabilities, and you will get the person who has no problem telling you, but then you have other people who are very close because they don't want people to know. That's a mindset, and you have to respect that mindset as well. But we make it open down there that everyone matters. Everyone's opinion matters. Whether you have a visible disability or an invisible one that people can't see. If you feel you have that disability, why not speak up? Why, sometimes you can help another person then on the, on the way, on the road of literally getting autonomy over themselves. And it also builds confidence in people as well. I know, for example, I can speak about epilepsy because I know a good deal about epilepsy, and a lot of people tend to hide that away because there used to be a stigma around epilepsy. It's not so much now, and the same applies to autism. You will see more and more people with autism in the community and taking part in things because their capacity has been built and they're willing to take part, and everyone's voice is equal. So as I said, whether it's the same as a person who actually maybe has cerebral palsy and is sitting in a wheelchair where people see that disability, you'll see people with autism and they say, oh, you don't look autistic. What does autism look like?
Yeah, you can't really know.
Yeah, you can't.
Can you share an example, even in a general way, of how being part of the peer support group has genuinely changed someone's life or reduced their sense of isolation?
Very much so. We have a member who would be youngish and had a stroke.
Oh.
So after the stroke, their confidence had gone. They had recovered enough to be out and about where it would be looking hidden because there were certain things that people wouldn't really see unless it was highlighted to the person that it was affecting, So this person, and anyway, their confidence was very, very low. So they joined the peer support group and they started attending. They got very involved in meeting people from the peer support group, having a social outlet, making friends, which was great. And then this person decided that they would like to go back to work. They would like to try and go back to work because they felt, ready for it. They wanted to give it a go. So actually, they had such a good understanding of disability that they wanted to become like a PA, which is a personal assistant to someone with a disability, or a carer. But to do that, they had to do the carers course. So they took part in the carers course, and that was fine. They did it. They passed it. They have their 8 modules, and that was going good. So then they started to apply for jobs. But the jobs weren't coming very quickly at all, because I think the person was being written off because once they heard that there was a stroke, the person had a stroke. No one will ever say that. This is just a general conversation. I can't prove that. No one can prove that. But the jobs weren't coming in anyway. So anyway, then we got involved and we empowered that person to literally be honest, be open about it, and then apply for stuff. But then also when they were asked for a reference, we gave a reference. And at the end of the day, after a long input and confidence building, that person has a job.
That's amazing.
So it's great, and as the person just said, it's so nice when somebody says to you, what do you do, that she can say, oh, I'm back working.
That's a great story to hear. That's what we want. The group also works beyond support, pushing for real change through accessibility audits and engagement with Fingal County Council. Why is that collective voice so effective?
There's power in the people. Definite power in the people.
Yeah.
And you'll find that councillors, when they're coming up near election, and at all times, I have to say now, I will give credit to Fingal. They are very good. They do take an interest in this, but they know it's just not one or two voices. It's a number of voices from an organisation. And they know they're going to hear the truth from them. They have to hear the lived experience from people who are living it. Yeah. So that's why we really encourage people to come together, because there is power in your voice, you know, and that's what it's all about. And it's actually being able to lobby, advocate, speak up for yourself, speak up for everyone else as well in the group, and bring the group along. You know, it makes such a difference.
Yeah, totally. The group had its first meeting of the year at the end of January, full of ideas and plans, and there's excitement about taking part in St. Patrick's Day parade. What does that kind of public visibility mean for members? It's
really good. One of our members has been St. Patrick for the last 4 years, and he loves it. He really does. This is his thing. Everyone has their thing, as I say, through the year. And St. Patrick's Day is definitely this member's thing. He's so into it. It's great. But when you're in the parade and you're out there and people are saying, oh, who are BCIL? What are they, you know, what do they do? Yeah. You know, it's a way of being visible in your community. You're walking through the heart of your community and you're proud. You're, you know, it's disability, but it's pride as well. It's literally being part of the community, which means so much. And then anything that we do, we try to highlight disability. Any event that we hold, whether it's a fundraising event or whether it's something like St. Patrick's Day, which is just taking part in community. And you're also with all the other community groups who get to know who you are, you know, which is great. Yeah, because I recently just joined last December and I never heard of BCIL. I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. The people are nice and seems like a family and they're supportive of each other. Yeah. Which that's what I like about it. Yeah, well, BCIL we always try to encourage it to be a good place to work. But like the whole idea of independent living is a philosophy. It's how you think, you know, and you have to realise that we're slightly different in that this organisation was set up by people with disabilities. It was set up by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. So that hierarchy was never really there from the first place, or the carer mode wasn't there either. It's literally the voice of the disabled person who is saying, I can't get up that path, I can't go around that corner. We'll work on that then. That's where the access audits come into it. Then also they're saying like, well, I'm not very happy with what's going on in the government at the moment. Let's lobby, let's have meetings, let's get the councillors, let's get the TDs in, let's tell them. You know, let's show them what it's like. You know, at the moment, there's a huge campaign around disability and poverty because people are finding it tough. Everybody is finding it tough. I think the cost of living has gone up so much. Definitely. Yeah, it definitely has. We're all aware of that. So then you have to realise that if you're a person who's sitting in the wheelchair, you're going to be colder than somebody who can move around. Like the first thing you do is, oh, I'm cold. You get up and you move. But if someone can't move out of that wheelchair, they have to increase their heat. So you had people who were starting to get worried about whether they would increase their heat or whether they actually had enough money for food. You know, so that's not right. So that's the next campaign that we're involved with as well, and we'll be lobbying along with the Irish Wheelchair Association. They're very strong. They're a huge organisation. And I said, we are aware we are a small organisation, but we feed in to the others. And we've seen them outside the Dáil and in Dáil meetings. So, you know, we hope that's good. BCIL is also inviting people to join your team for the 2026 mini marathon this June. Yeah. Why is this event so important for BCIL, and how does the fundraising directly support your services? Okay. Like every organisation, we have to fundraise. We try not to, because we try to be a disability organisation who's in the community. We would love to be funded hugely, that we didn't have to, but you do have to fundraise. So because we're so small, we're literally putting it out there to people to please walk the mini marathon or run the mini marathon first, and any funds raised will go towards us. There's a number of services that we provide, and it will definitely go into that. More than likely, it will probably go into the transport service. I'd say definitely it will go into the transport service, because people rely on transport. While buses have been very good and have improved over the time, it's not great. It's not, you know, so people like to be able to call their own shots on when they're going out. And, you know, if whether it's going out for a doctor's appointment or whether it's going out to have your hair done, we like to be there to try and help people in the community to take control of their lives and use the transport. You know?
How would people join this mini marathon, or who they contact?
Right, okay, we've put up ads on our Facebook page, and we're asking them to call Jessie and to email in at admin@bcil.ie, just to let us know if they're doing it, and hopefully they will. You know, again, you also come back to word of mouth. We have put it out there to people that we know to try and spread on, and for them to share it as well. The more shares we get on it, the better, and hopefully the more people we'll have. It'll be a good day out. The mini marathon is always really good fun, and anyway. And as I said, we're not asking people to go running. We're not looking for the super fit. We're asking for even to walk it, you know, which would be great. And any funds raised would go towards a good cause, and it all goes towards it. There's no overheads.
Okay, perfect. You've taken part in the mini marathon in previous years. What stands out for you from past events? Any moments that really captured the spirit of the day?
Oh God, I'm talking about a long time ago.
That's okay, that's perfect.
A number of us took part in the mini marathon. We had a couple of wheelchair users who were with us as well. We managed to lose some of the wheelchair users because they were actually much fitter than we were, and they were able to push ahead and they were faster. But we just all stuck together. We sang, we walked, we laughed and talked the whole way around, while raising some good, you know, funds for BCIL. But it was a really good day. And at that stage, I think now some men might have snuck into the mini marathon now, even though they say women's, they go in disguise. But at the time, it was just a whole group of women who were from BCIL who worked here at the time, and it was excellent. Yeah.
You work closely with national partners, including the Disability Federation of Ireland. How do these partnerships strengthen BCIL's work in a local level?
The Disability Federation of Ireland is like an umbrella group, so they're over us, and we feed up into them. They feed down into us. So they would have a lot of kind of political pull. They would be in at a lot of committees in the Oireachtas, committees in the Dáil, and they would be in there fighting the cause. Do you know what you know? Yeah. But they get their information from us. Even what I was talking about earlier about people who are finding it hard at the moment, a lot of the information has gone into DFI. They have asked us, you know, do you have anyone who is kind of struggling at the moment? Yeah. And, you know, we were able to put them in touch, and then their conversations are private, whatever goes in between them. But it's just a way of feeding into national events that go on, you know, and to government events. And, you know, you'll hear they're very good at kind of doing figures like percentages and different things for the whole country. So it gives you a feeling of where people are. There was another campaign that they were involved in. It was where there's an awful lot of young people who are living in nursing homes. I think the figure is about 1,400. It may even be slightly more at the time, because there's not enough care packages for people to come home. So all of a sudden, if you have a disability and you're in hospital, and they're going to let you out, but they can't send you home, you know. So where did they put you? Oh, they suggest like you go into a nursing home. So a nursing home is not a place for young people, you know. It really isn't. And there should be more kind of care packages for at home. There should be proper, you know, proper setup, proper funding. Sometimes you can get bedazzled by the amount of money that they talk about in disability. Yeah. But you'll find that a lot of the money is going to what are still, we would call institutions rather than home care packages. They're very good. They're the bigger organisations, and you do need them. Yeah, yeah. But it would be good if literally the home care side was funded a bit better, and people were able to go home, and also go home quicker, rather than you will have some people who may end up in a nursing home and, well, someone in their late 30s, 40s, while they're getting the house done. It's just a pity things don't move very quicker, you know, that someone could come straight out of hospital and go home.
Yeah, I'm surprised that young people would actually have to go to nursing homes. Yeah. That's my first time ever hearing it. Yeah. You see, there's no places for people, you know. So what do? Yeah. So because if you're in hospital, say, God forbid, say a person has an accident and they're in hospital, and all of a sudden then they need a wheelchair. Okay, so
They can't walk, they can't get home because the house that they lived in, probably loved, probably bought, is not suitable for them anymore.
There's no accessibility.
It's not accessible. So they have to wait, and then you have huge waiting lists for things to be done unless you have loads of money yourself, and then the majority of people don't. So you have to wait. So what do they do? Because they can't leave you in hospital because you're considered a bed blocker. You know, really, you shouldn't really be in hospital. So where do they put you? Yeah, oh, sure, I know. We'll put you in a nursing home.
That's
which is not great.
Finally, Geraldine, if there's one message you'd like people with disabilities, especially those feeling isolated, to hear today, what would you like to say to them?
I'd like to say I wish more people knew about BCIL. Like what you said when you started here, and the majority of people who started working here have never heard us, because we are a small organisation, but we do punch above our weight and we do help in the community. And while we mightn't change the world for everyone, we can change the world for one person, and one person at a time. So I think the whole ethos of living independently is such a good message, and it really needs to be pushed rather than the carer method. I think that if someone has a disability but they have the philosophy and they realise that with the right supports in place they can live an independent life and they can live a good life. I feel that's the message that I would like to say to people. And I'd also like to say to them, come along to us, come along to the peer support, come visit us, but come to the peer support group at the end of the month, get your voice heard. It's such a good thing to feel that you're heard, because when we have sessions with counsellors, people go home and they're smiling because they've had their voices heard, which is all I think anyone wants.
That's true,
And everyone is welcome.
Yeah, you just need a friend, someone to listen to you and check up on you.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you so much for coming today, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Bye.